Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Talbot, Managing Director and Head of Research at Red Cloud Securities. Our next presentation is from Skyharbour Resources. Jordan Trimble is the President and CEO, and he will be speaking with us today. So Skyharbour has a suite of highly prospective, high-grade uranium exploration projects that it and its JV partners are advancing in the Athabasca Basin. So Jordan, we're going to give you about 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Attendees, please feel free to ask your questions using the Q&A link. So take it away, Jordan.
Great, thanks, Dave, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Try to make this short and sweet because I know, one, it's getting late in the day and people have heard a lot of uranium stories over the last few hours. The story, Skyharbour, our company, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, but it's a high-grade uranium exploration and early stage development company focused in the Athabasca Basin in northern Saskatchewan. So for those of you not familiar with the Athabasca Basin, it is the highest grade depository of uranium in the world. It's always consistently ranked in the top 5 mining jurisdictions by the Fraser Institute. It's really, through thick and thin markets, the best place to be looking for developing and producing uranium in. So we started the company in 2013. I partnered up with my head geologist, Rick Kazmersky, and really what we did then was set out to build a project portfolio, taking advantage of a contrarian opportunity, being opportunistic in a depressed uranium market. We've managed to build up a top-tier portfolio of assets scattered throughout the Athabasca Basin, both on the west and the east side of the basin, primarily focused on our flagship, Moore Lake, which is on the east side of the basin. I'll talk more about. Just finished a 7,000-meter drill program there, but we have projects all throughout, and we now have a dual-pronged strategy, and I think this is a key differentiating feature with Skyharbour is we are a discovery and high-grade story. We're looking to emulate the success that other notable discovery and exploration companies have had in the last 10 to 15 years at our flagship project, Moore Lake. But we also employ prospect generation. So for those of you that follow our news flow, you'll see that we announced a 4th partner company, Black Shield, coming in on Monday at our Mann Lake project. I'll talk a bit more about that. It's a very unique dual-pronged strategy to Skyharbour. It's allowed us to build fairly large equity positions in some of these partner companies, passing that investment exposure on to Skyharbour shareholders. And so as I work my way through, I'll talk a bit more about that and leave some time open for questions at the end. The disclaimer, I implore everyone to take some time to read through this on their own time. Investment highlights: people, timing, and projects. So the 3 core pillars of Skyharbour and ingredients for success. The people, so the technical team led by Rick Kazmersky, Dave Bayard, Christine McKechnie, the management team, our corporate office here in Vancouver, long-term committed shareholders and stakeholders, and last but not least, 2 strategic, larger industry-leading partners in Denison Mines. They're our largest corporate shareholder, and Orano, industry leader Orano, France's largest nuclear and fuel cycle company and uranium mining company based in Paris. They're a project partner at our Preston project. Timing has to do with the market, obviously very topical. It seems like when we have these conferences, Red Cloud does such a good job of seemingly timing them with lots of good, at least in the last year, macro tailwinds, and then projects, again, very large property portfolio. We have seen our market cap and valuation increase, but I think it's important to emphasize that the existing project portfolio, I believe, does warrant an even higher valuation, especially as we see the price of uranium continue to move higher. So just to familiarize everyone with the team, I'm the president and CEO. I've been running the company since I left my corporate development manager role for gold company Bayfield Ventures, which we ultimately sold to New Gold. I've come from more of an entrepreneurial and finance background. I've worked with several issuers and been focused in the mining space over my 10-year career. Jim Pettit is the chairman. I work with Jim. He was the CEO of Bayfield. So him and I have worked together over the last decade. And we teamed up with Rick Kazmersky, as I mentioned earlier, head geologist. Rick is a well-known exploration geologist in the Athabasca Basin, 40-year veteran. He was the exploration manager at Cameco for a number of years, and then he left and he built and sold his own company, J&R Resources, which he ultimately sold to Denison Mines before teaming up with us. And it's come full circle here. You'll see Dave Cates, who's the president and CEO of Denison. He's a director of Skyharbour, very close working relationship with Dave and his team at Denison Mines. Paul Matizik, a strategic advisor, joined us several years ago. Paul really needs no introduction. And one of his biggest wins was the uranium deal put together in 2004, Energy Metals, which ultimately sold for $1.8 billion to Uranium One in 2007. More recently, we've added some more capital markets bench strength with Joe Gallucci. A lot of you are probably familiar with Joe. He's the current managing director, head of mining investment banking, Laurentian Bank. He's worked with a handful of uranium companies throughout his tenure, worked closely with Dave when they were at 8. So he brings a wealth of capital markets expertise and experience to the board. And then just rounding out the team, Dave Bigyard and Christine McKechnie, both excellent geologists, again, focused expertise in the Athabasca Basin, decades of experience. Christine oversees all of our field work and actually wrote her thesis, an award-winning thesis on one of our deposits, the Fraser Lakes Zone B deposit at our South Falcon Point project. So just moving on to the capital structure here, you'll see we've got 127 million shares issued and outstanding. We trade around $100 million valuation. We have just over 9 million in the treasury. Just a quick note on that, it's about 6 to 6.5 million in cash. The remainder is equity we hold in partner companies. And again, that's becoming a more important part of our story as we continue to advance the project base that we have by bringing in partner companies to work on some of the secondary projects. Some notable shareholders at the bottom there, management and insiders, Denison, the North Shore ETF, to name a few. We have seen a growing institutional interest in the story. I'd say we're now with those shareholders you see at the bottom, that would constitute about 50% to 55% of the issued and outstanding. So good to see more institutional and family office interest in the story and in the sector. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. This is, I'm sure everyone's heard lots about this today, but just to re-emphasize, needless to say, we're bullish on uranium as the fuel for the only source of emissions-free baseload affordable electricity in nuclear. So as we see, go to this slide here, as we see two mega trends, macro trends, electrification and clean energy continue to get investor attention and continue to see improving sentiment, nuclear is going to continue to have to play a pivotal role in this. We need that baseload clean electricity. With electricity demand expected to grow by 50% by 2040. But we need clean energy. We need to wean off of fossil fuels and burning coal, natural gas, and oil. So that's where nuclear comes in. It's not dependent on the weather. It's not intermittent. It runs at over 90% capacity factor. So it will continue to be play an integral role in some of these climate problem solutions that we're looking at. Demand. So just quickly, demand 185 million pounds of demand and growing quite steadily. SMRs and advanced nuclear technologies will add to that. It's the supply side where we've seen the crunch. We've seen a decrease from about 163 million pounds to about 120 million pounds in 2020. So we've had to chew through a lot of inventory, secondary supplies, and just a final note on the recent financial entities, including Sprott, and now more recently, the Kazakh setting up a physical uranium fund, that's just expedited what was already going to happen. And so we're seeing a lot of material sequestered. We're seeing a tightening of the market, and we will ultimately see this result in higher uranium prices going forward. So moving on to the projects to cover off what we have planned for the next 6 to 12 months. It's a very catalyst-rich story in that we've got a major drill program, 7,000 meters that we just completed at our flagship project, Moore Lake. And we have partner-funded programs at some of the other projects. Moore Lake is really the crown jewel. It's the focus for us. It's a project we acquired in 2016. We own 100% of it. There's been a lot of historical exploration at the project. But what's intriguing about this property for us is that a lot of the historical exploration was only focused for sandstone and unconformity hosted targets. So more recently, we've been drilling a little bit deeper, 300 to 400 meters into the underlying basement rocks. And these are new targets that we've garnered using some new geophysical techniques and a new geological model. We just announced a month ago the first 5 holes of the 19-hole drill program that we just completed, again, 7,000 meters, are one of our highest grade hits in the underlying basement rock, where we hit 6.8% U3O8 over 2 meters. That was within 6 meters of 2.5% U3O8. So we really think we've just scratched the surface for a much larger deposit in the underlying basement rocks. So keep an eye out for additional news flow. Assays are pending for the remainder of the drilling that we just finished. That'll take us right through into January. We will then and are fully funded for a 5,000 to 7,000 meter winter program. And we are also going to be issuing a maiden resource estimate, NI 43-101 compliant resource estimate sometime in Q1 or early Q2. So a lot of catalysts coming up with the main project, the flagship project, Moore Lake. Just moving on, so we have limited time here. So we do have four partner companies as a part of our broader prospect generator business. First and foremost, we have a 51% joint venture partner in Uranium at our Preston project. We'll carry on as a joint venture partnership there going forward. East Preston, a company Azincorp presented at this conference. They now own 70% of the East Preston project, having earned in earlier this year. Very, very exciting project and program coming up, 7,000 meters planned. They've done a lot of the initial exploratory and reconnaissance work and drilling to garner, I think, the best targets that we could have found on the project. And there's going to be a lot of drill holes put into this project early in the new year with that 7,000 meters. So keep an eye out for news flow on that. More recently, we brought in a new partner company, ASX listed Valor Resources. Valor is earning in 80% at our Hook Lake project. They have to spend just under $4 million in cash and in exploration expenditures, and they've issued us over 233 million shares, valued at approximately $2.5 to $3 million. So again, a great way for us to ensure that these projects are advanced by partner companies. It brings in some cash and stock. It makes sure that these other companies are on the ground working, in particular at Hook Lake. Valor's been working at a very high-grade surface showing. We've had samples as high as 68% at this Hook Lake target. And they're planning a 2,500 meter drill program to commence early in the new year to test that target and to hopefully find the source of that mineralization. And then just to wrap up here, South Falcon Point, we own 100% of. We are entertaining potential partner companies here. We are also potentially looking at a small drill program early in the new year. This does host a 7 million pound NI 43-101 inferred resource at 0.03%. It is a project that has a lot of exploration upside potential. The deposit is open at depth and along strike. So something that we're hoping either we can find a partner on or we'll go and do some work on early in the new year. And then just again, last but not least, wrapping up Mann Lake. So this is a news release that we issued out on Monday. A new project partner at Mann Lake in Black Shield Metals Corp. They'll be renaming to the Basin Uranium Corp. They have now a 75% earn-in at the Mann Lake project. They can spend, in order to complete that, they have to spend just under $5 million in cash payments and in exploration expenditures over 3 years. They're going to be issuing us a total of $1.75 million worth of stock over that 3-year period. We're very excited to have them as partners. In particular, this project had a little bit of drilling back in the mid-2000s, but not a lot of work since then. We did some geophysics in preparation for drilling back in 2014. So it's great to have a company coming in and taking the reins on this project. We think there's very good, robust discovery potential at this project, and look out for updates on this program as we work our way through the next few months. So I want to hand it over a couple minutes for questions here. I will just quickly wrap up with this last slide here. So upcoming catalysts. So continue drilling at Moore Lake, resource estimate early in the new year, and assays pending from the 7,000 meters we just completed. Exploration and drilling funded by partner companies. We could have potentially 4 simultaneous drill programs underway come January, February between Moore, East Preston, Hook Lake, and Mann Lake. So a lot of drilling, a lot of irons in the fire. Look for additional joint ventures and option deals being signed, and also new project acquisitions. And last but not least, an improving uranium market. This rising tide has benefited the companies, a few companies that have toughed it out over the last few years, and I still think it's very much the early innings of this uranium bull market.
Right. Okay, thank you, Jordan. You know, as uranium prices rise, I expect a lot of companies to go from the shield to the basement, or to the basin, I guess. So, you know, during this cycle, do you expect to see any consolidation of companies in the Athabasca?
I think so. I hope so, to be honest. You know, you and I have talked about this. I think it's ripe for consolidation. You know, keep in mind there aren't that many companies still, but I think as more entrants come in and as new discoveries are made, and companies work towards building a critical mass of reserves, resources, and projects, I think there's a good case to be had that that there should be some consolidation.
Okay, perfect. So great presentation, Jordan, very thorough, but we do have to move on. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody.